It's Momo Monday, and you know what to do. Breathe in. And out. And breathe in. And out. Now enjoy the cute for a bit before I show you guys a brief bit of the article I'm going to reference today. I have been trying to figure out for weeks now, actively, why people just needlessly insult each other. And this is because I know my reactions to someone throwing an insult at me. I'm less likely to want to talk to that person. And so, that led me to recognize that insulting people isn't an effective way to get what you want. And then I realized, wait a minute, maybe what they want is something different than I think. And that led me to doing some research, and lo and behold, people apparently tend to insult each other because they're feeling bad about themselves. That's one reason. There are a few others. We have to be careful not to strip people's individuality out of this. And so what I like about this is it offers four explanations as to why people fling insults. They want to hurt and harm each other. There are different reasons. So different individuals can have different reasons, and I think that's really important. The first one is something that psychologists call positive distinctiveness. And basically that means people need to feel unique from others in positive ways. You may note outrage culture on the internet bears many markers of this, because people tend to view in-groups more favorably than out-groups. And so people see people who are not part of the group as, in a less positive light, especially, and this is important for understanding this internet back and forth, when there's competition or when the identity of a group has been challenged. And I mean, we have a perfect storm in that in gaming right now, where the gamer identity was challenged and it all blew up, and it's been fighting ever since. Now, I think that the core of that was legitimate. I think people felt very hurt, and they felt like their very identity was under siege, and people do not behave well when they feel threatened. I get that. I think a lot of things got grafted onto that, and so I'm going to move on. Downward comparisons is an interesting thing. Because people prefer to feel good, they basically look down their noses at other people. Now, it's interesting because there's been a fair bit of research in that insults are contagious. So when you've been insulted or when you've been treated negatively, you're more likely to be negative to other people because it can restore self-esteem. People look for anything when they feel wounded to sort of even the scales, to go, you ain't better than me. And I think that's important to keep in mind, because I see so many people starting off a conversation exceptionally aggressively and either being belligerent or belittling or, flat out insulting. And then they get taken aback when people respond in kind. And the interesting thing is, I think these people don't necessarily think they start the whole conflict. They see something on Twitter that catches them the wrong way. They see something on Facebook that catches them the wrong way. And instead of taking a breath and saying, this isn't about me, this isn't targeted at me, they just go, "Roar!" and act like a jerk. And this is happening over and over and over and over again, and most people complain about it. The thing is, most people are actually unconsciously contributing to it. Argue the point at hand. Don't indulge in petty insults, because this is not life or death. These are usually discussions about people no one involved in the conversation personally knows. Especially in my line of work, where I do have to supervise people and I do have to come down on people, and I do have to give my honest opinion about things, and that's not always positive. So I try very hard to be fair to people and be as nice as I possibly can. So when I have to be critical, it's not personal. I'm not trying to hurt someone. I'm trying to improve things. And sometimes the only way to improve things is to point out that things aren't so great to begin with. Now, the next thing, and this is the sort of oldest explanation for why people hurl insults, is good old classical projection. Going back to Sigmund Freud, Freud wasn't wrong about everything. Basically, that people insult other people with the things they feel about themselves. So the example they give here, if you're feeling dishonest, you're more likely to see other people as dishonest, which makes you feel better about yourself by comparison. And it was interesting, this one study that I find particularly interesting, when people are angry, they're more likely to see other people's behavior as being angry as well. And in doing so, they felt less angry. And this is a bit of a digression. I have a personal theory about the shame associated with anger nowadays, that if you get angry, you've somehow failed. And, because everybody's supposed to be a robot mixed with a Vulcan in this day and age, and always be calm. And I would much prefer that I knew what someone's sensitivities were so that I can avoid them if I can. Within reason. Some jobs, mine included, you have to be tolerant of certain things that no one especially likes. And I think that a lot of this issue of, internet harassment, it's not really harassment. It's people being mean. It's people being insulting. And that's not right either. But we have so normalized unnecessarily uncivil behavior that people need to make it into something more than it is. And I think in part it's because these people want to reserve the right to just be horribly insulting to other people when they're feeling down. Research indicates that other people feel better about themselves by being mean to other people. And this is something of an intractable problem. And I think it comes down to the last item this article talks about, something they call ego threat. That threatened self-esteem drives a lot of aggression. And the interesting thing about that is it says it doesn't matter if people feel good or bad about themselves in general. When people are feeling worse about themselves than usual, they're more likely to lash out. And this I can relate to, because when your self-talk is negative and somebody comes in, that self-talk becomes outside talk, right? And these are all sort of coming back to say the same thing, which is, if you don't like the negativity out there, don't feed it. If you don't like the fact that people are mean and angry and all that stuff constantly on social media, be careful you're not feeding that. Now, what other people interpret your actions to be is not completely under your control. I have people telling me I'm being angry when I was just cracking a joke. I know better than to put something on social media that I'm really furious about. But, this research tells me that these people that mischaracterize my kind of cheeky post as being angry, well, they see that because they're angry themselves. And there's a lot of very angry people walking around right now. And I don't know how people do it. When I am angry for more than a day, it exhausts me. I find it debilitating. I can't focus, I can't do my job. Now, part of that is because I have to actively break that cycle. If somebody writes a comment going, go back in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, or things like that, I can't respond with, hey, asshole, screw up. I can't do that, because when I did do that, then people then take that and screen cap and make me out to be a horrible creature instead of just a human being who was, responding as human beings do. Insults breed insults. If you're coming at the conversation from a conversational place, instead of being whipped up to argue, you can make your case without those insults. And this is something it would be great if I saw more people start practicing. Make your case without saying, hey, idiot. Make your case without that, that's a polite insult in the grand scheme of things. But, instead of just lashing out and being sarcastic and doing something to wound or doing something to create a pageantry, just offer a counterpoint and actually be prepared to unpack that, to actually, discuss the issue. Because let me tell you, I've had some pretty great conversations on Twitter of late where I will start off with a person seeming to be miles apart on something. But what it really was is that we were coming at the issue from different perspectives. But there was actually a core of agreement there. And Twitter is not supposed to be a social media platform and you can have those kinds of conversations. And I just wish, because there's a lot of interesting conversations that I have on Twitter that are more tiring than they need to be. Because one of the things I find, geeks especially, and I am one, so I'm talking about a tendency I identified in myself when I was younger. When we don't know something, we feel threatened. And our identity as a smart person, and not just a smart person, but usually the smartest person in the room, gets threatened, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but me going through gifted program, being in all these enriched courses, whenever you didn't know something, well, at least me, whenever I didn't know something, I was made fun of. Once you're sort of identified as a smart kid, or in at least my case, once I had this identity as a smart kid, I wasn't allowed to be a normal kid. I wasn't allowed to be a flawed kid. And so I get very nervous when I don't know something. And it took active work to realize that saying I don't know is a valid thing. And I will tell people, if you're just getting out of school, if you're about to graduate or something like that and you're experiencing this, the working world is kinder to this sort of thing than school is. But you have to prepare to pivot your mindset out of self-protection mode and learn to say, I don't know. Learn to say, can you explain that to me? And not try to cover up not understanding something with aggression or snark. It is healthier in the long run. It makes you better. It makes you more effective to be able to recognize and kind of move through your own unpleasant emotions instead of lashing out and just trying to make everybody around you feel as bad as you do. And this is a big part of growing up, and this is a part of growing up that isn't so bad. And, there's a reason that a lot of these outrage warriors are quite young. They haven't hit that point. And, I have a personal rule, and a lot of you guys know this. You keep being insulting. You keep coming at something like a ton of bricks. You keep raging. I'll tell you to have yourself a great day. I'm not going to get pulled into that because I would be having 100 arguments a day. This is the reason I'm not very active on Facebook, because on Facebook, people who know you in person speak to you the same way that strangers on Twitter do. And strangers on Twitter make sense. They don't know me. I'm just a representation of something they're afraid of. But on Facebook, I've had meals with these people. I've had drinks with these people. And they're acting like outraged assholes to the same degree as strangers on Twitter. And that makes a lot less sense to me. They're just spinning out. So hopefully this has helped you not spin out, at least with the adorable fluffiness. The kittens are getting big, aren't they? We're calling them catlets now instead of kittens, except for Link, because Link is still everything's wow. But let's close out. Breathe in. And out. And breathe in. And out.